Ooh, what up, though? It is another Thursday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, and man, we got a hell of an episode for you tonight, as we've got the return of our friend Miranda Maverick before she steps in at UFC Fight Night to take on Dione Barbosa. We'll talk about all the opponent changes. We'll talk about all that good stuff. But before we do that, you know the drill. We got to tell you about our homies over at Potter's Tree Service. If you're in the need for tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, lot clearing, and now they even will cut your lawn, hit up the homies at Potter's Tree Service. Tell them Knockouts and Three Counts sent you. As you can see, here's the full list of all the things that they do. And if you tell them that we sent you, you won't need Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Just hit up the homies at Potter's Tree Service, and they'll get you together. Enjoy the show. Here it goes.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
We got a new world champion.
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
What up, though? This is another Thursday, and I sound like I got ran over by a truck, but this is Knockouts and Three Counts. We've got the return of our friend Miranda Maverick before she steps in for this fight, and she's fresh out of training and smashing some food while she does it. So how the hell are you feeling?
Feeling all right. This was my last hard jiu-jitsu class until my fight, since I leave on Tuesday. So feeling good, still sweaty and everything from training. Hopped in the car, and I'm straight here. So here we go. You guys are gonna have to mind.
What are you eating over there? I gotta know what's on the plate, Kyle. You know me.
Beef and like just veggies.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That ain't so bad.
J-bone and weight cuts, I don't think that'd ever be a thing.
Oh, it'll never be a thing. It'll never be a thing.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate the time, especially fresh out of training, man. I got to do some jiu-jitsu earlier this week, and I forgot what it feels like to throw up after workout. So, I mean, you're doing better than I did the other day. So,
Yeah.
With that,
I want to get a hard roll in, but a safe one. So I have like one training partner who he's like a sambo and wrestler, high level, and like my side, we're just like going across the mat, making everybody get out of our way because we're going so fast. I was like, go hard, but don't kill me. Like, don't hurt me.
go hard, but don't kill me. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Since the last time you've came on the show, I tried the pickles. First of all, make sure you check out Prowler Pickles. I tried those on the show. They were pretty damn good. I'll give you that. And I've seen you've forayed your way over into the honey side of things as well. So how was your 4th of July? And talk to me about what's new with all the pickles and stuff.
Yeah, 4th of July was good. My birthday was July 1st, so got
Nice.
another.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. People can still use my code Independence at my website, prowlerpickles.com. It's where I sell the pickles and the honey. The reason why for the honey is I've actually been keeping bees since I was 12 years old. That's another fun fact about me,
Really?
I guess. It's the first big purchase I ever made with my money was beehives, and I went to like these classes with the Beekeepers Association locally and all kinds of stuff to learn about them. And my family loves honey, and now I'm working with a lot of local beekeepers out here in Colorado to get local Colorado honey, and also in Missouri to get local Missouri honey. So I kind of sell them from both places. So if anybody's interested, that stuff is online at prowlerpickles.com as well.
I like it.
like
Well,
the
what's been the
Dude.
reception on the pickles? Because I thought they were pretty damn good, but I've been seeing business has been picking up for you guys. How's all that been going?
Yeah, the pickles are going well. It's steady, but like a light says, it's not like I'm making a living on it or anything. It's still like a very, very thing. But I'm in a couple little local stores out here, and I'm hoping to get in some in Missouri. When I get in fight camps, I don't really focus on it as much, like the selling side, but I have been trying to start everything up and get the attention out there from social media and stuff. I found out that Marketplace is as good a tool as my website is, because the website only my followers and stuff know versus Marketplace. All these local people get to see it, and they're like, ooh, local things. And I'm like, yeah. I've been a while, but too bad you don't follow me.
Isn't that one of the funny things with social media? You don't find any of these things out till you start playing with them all, because it's like, man, I work full time doing the show as well. So it's like figuring out all the little different ways, like between clips and everything else that you learn along the way. They don't
Dude,
teach
it's a
you
whole
this
world
stuff, you
out
know?
there.
No, or like the get on, and you're like, wow, found a whole new fan group, you know? Like
Yep.
when the card thing happened and I found out about all these people that collected UFC cards, I was like, wow, didn't even know this stuff existed, you know?
Yeah.
See, now that's been one thing I've been noticing a lot from past guests of the show, Jimmy Flick, who's also in the UFC. He's always at different card conventions and all this stuff. I mean, like when I was a kid, we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and all this shit, and now you got all these you got the UFC cards, WWE's got cards now. They all got cards.
Oh, dude, it's flooded all over the place with that stuff.
And Jimmy will actually be at a card show with him down in the Tulsa area mid-August, so I'll be posting about it pretty soon.
Hell yeah!
Booming
Shout out to
business.
Jimmy
Dude, we might
Flick.
need to get into that, Kyle.
Yeah, that's your job.
saying.
Figure out
I'm
how
just
we get some
saying.
trading cards.
Yeah, dude. Might need to get into something like that.
Hey,
Hell yeah!
some base cards anyway.
There we go.
Hell yeah! I like it. Well, now that we've talked about honey and pickles, let's talk about the fight game, because as we were talking about before we hit the button, you know, you've had quite the ride getting into this fight, but the last time you were on the show, you were telling me you just texted your opponent. Now you've had about 6 different opponents for this one. So talk to me about this fight that you've got coming up with Dione Barbosa and the road to get to the cage, because it sounds like you've had quite the different list of dancing partners.
For sure. So obviously Dione was not my first opponent, nor was she my first pick of an opponent. I wanted a ranked opponent. I've been on that verge of number 14, number 15 since basically the beginning of my career in the UFC. If I'm correct, I think they just took me off the rankings last week, which is so silly. Like the fights there's no fights that even happen, but you know, whoever was on there had a different opinion and changed it all up. It's all politics. But this Dione Barbosa fight, you know, she's not ranked. She's only had one fight in the UFC, and I plan on just using it as an example of why I should be in the top 15, top 10 area and be getting those kind of fights instead of this. Dione is still a good fighter, you know. Nobody in the UFC is a crap fighter or anything, and I'm not going into it like, oh, this is an easy fight. But I do plan on making a statement with this fight. My first opponent was Tracy Cortez. She was number 11, I think, at the time. I was number 14 when the fight got booked. It was supposed to be a great fight, and then it was 2 weeks ago or something. 2 weeks.
About that.
Yeah, Macy Barber dropped out of the fight for interesting reasons, which I will not discuss here. But she dropped out of the fight, and I got called first before Rose even did, or anyone, which is crazy, and told like, hey, we're taking your opponent. We're going to have Tracy fight Rose. We'll find you another opponent. And I was like, what? And very frustrating. I had just got done sparring with Rose when this happened, like 10 minutes after, no joke. And so I called up Pat Barry, and I was like, yo, like, why didn't you tell me? Or technically I texted him, and I was like, hey, why didn't you tell me you took my opponent when we sparred? Like, you didn't think to mention that? And he was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I was like, huh? And then he calls me, and I was like, what do you mean, what am I talking about? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, Macy dropped out. And he was like, what? And they had no... And I was like, oops. Like,
so you were breaking the news.
Yeah, exactly. So ended up being a whole thing. I guess Tracy took a while to negotiate and stuff. Like, she probably didn't want to fight the 5 rounds, high elevation is what I heard. And so I kind of threw my hat in the ring because Pat called me and was like, hey, fight Rose. Because we were getting within like a week and a half, I think. And I was like, I mean, yeah, heck yeah. Main event on a card. We'd been training together every sparring, though, leading up to this for like 6-7 weeks, which was the funny part. And I was like, I mean, if you want that fight. And so I told Mick, we started to go down that path. I guess the Tracy thing worked out because, you know, she's more promotable or whatever. And she's higher ranked, so they wanted her to take it. I would assume that they did some kind of deal with her pay and stuff. She ended up taking the fight. They called me. Media already had that I was fighting Dione. I had no idea about that, so I don't know how that got out, but whatever. And like 3 days later, once everything was confirmed, I was able to post that I was, in fact, fighting Dione Barbosa. Then, like 4 days after that, Jasmine's out here. It was like the third to last sparring I had, and she was just out here getting used to the elevation. We did a few like tech rounds, light rounds, since it's like a week before a fight. And did some drilling together and stuff. And I get a call like the night after of, hey, would you fight Jasmine? On like
Dang.
This would have been Friday or Thursday. It was like just a few days ago. And I was like, what? Like, okay, sure, but I need paid like the amount that I've paid in Airbnb and the amount I've paid in flights, and also to make up for the no taxes in Vegas versus taxes in Denver. Take the fight. And they were like, we're not adding any pay. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be out of pocket because of the fight sooner. Like, I'm not going to spend 10 grand more because that's stupid. So I was like, no, I'll just keep my opponent. Thanks.
So that's interesting too. So like, how often do you notice when you fight in different places? Like, how often does that change things? Like the taxes, like how you said in Vegas, there's no tax, and then it's different places because like Michigan here's got high state tax, but I never thought about that.
Yeah, that never crossed my mind.
Fighters that does think about it. I try to be really practical, and I'm in this game a lot for the money, to be honest. And I'm like, I'm not going to get shortchanged just to have a rematch with someone, you know. But taxes are important. I love fighting in Vegas because there's no taxes. I hate fighting internationally. Like Canada was 30%. They were actually had me on the Manchester card. The
304.
Yeah, 304 is what July 20th initially was going to be. Then that all changed. But I was like, I do not want to fight in Manchester. That's like 40%. I was like, hell no. So, you know, you get paid less at the end of the day than you did like your first contract in the UFC. I was like, that's ridiculous. I win and I get paid less than I would sing in the US. Like, no thanks.
That's interesting. Like I said, that's something I never had really thought about. But you know, as we spoke about, you know, you already said we've talked about that you've got a new opponent and all that stuff. Do you like? Do you feel like this is a more favorable matchup for you than Tracy? And how do you think she's going to fare against Rose?
I think Rose is going to win. Definitely on Rose's rooting that one. I think she's just fast, got a lot of foot movement, has been working the grappling with me a lot. Just a lot of things I think Tracy's not going to be able to keep up with. I think Macy would have been a harder opponent for her just because Macy's heavier pressure and would try to cage. I don't think Tracy has the ability to pressure as well. She's very like back and forth, more technical point fighter, and Rose is a very good point fighter as well. As far as my matchup, like I wanted the Tracy matchup. I do think that this is technically like a better fight for me in terms of go in, get my bag, go home. But I think that the Tracy fight had a lot more opportunity for me in terms of moving up the ladder, having another higher ranked opponent, and getting that title contention. Where right now I feel like I'm just in this stagnant spot for the last few years where it's like no fault of my own. I just can't seem to get a ranked opponent and move on up. But you know what? I keep saying, I'm like, I don't care. As long as I'm getting paid the same and getting my investments and goals achieved life-wise, then whatever. I'll fight anybody they put in front of me. I answer the call, and they know I'm a short notice fighter. They know I'll say yes if it makes sense, and I try to do my best within that.
So that brings up a good question. As anybody that follows MMA knows, like they just had what happened at UFC 303 with Dan Ige taking that fight on like literally hours notice like that. How much stock do you think the UFC really puts into like fighters like yourself and other people who are taking those fights on like short notice? Because you always hear like commentators and all those things say about how they feel like because you're ready to go at all times, you know, that'll help you in the long run. Like the UFC looks out for those kind of things. Do you think like by you taking like anybody at any time, do you think that that's going to serve you well if you go in there and handle business in this fight?
No evidence that I've taken short notices has shown any benefit to me. I think there are a couple people that for whatever reason get good treatment based off it, like Cowboy, like Dan Ige, that kind of thing. I have taken more short notices in my career with the UFC than I have actual fights, and I feel like I still get shortchanged or kind of stuck up after it. I don't know. But maybe long run it does, and it's just like when you're in the higher rankings, I'm not sure. But I've also, to be fair, like I've had a lot of people during short notices, like when I've gotten offered fights, say no. So it's like, I guess you could look at it both ways. Like maybe they are trying to get me more fights and just nobody will take them.
I feel that. Like I said, it's something I always wondered because you kind of hear like both sides of it. Like a training partner of mine, Miles Jury, who was ranked in the 155 and 145 in UFC and Bellator. Like that was something we always had talked about too, because he would talk to me about like, you know, they offered me X, Y, and Z. And then, you know, then it changes on the last minute. I always wondered that because it's like you always hear commentary, and especially after what we saw with Ige, like taking it that short, like how they feel like it's going to help them in the long run. And I heard Ige say it himself. He's like, I made more money in that fight than I've made, you know, in any of the other fights.
On a day notice, I think it's different. Yeah, you're gonna like get told, hey, if you can do it, I'll pay you this much money. Like, get in here. But if it was like a week notice, 2 weeks, I just don't think they really care as much. So I guess there's a middle ground to that, a yes and a no.
I feel that. I just wondered from the fighter side of it, like how you feel with that. Well, I mean, with that being said, I mean, let's talk a little bit about your last fight that you had when you came on here with Andrea KGB Lee. I wanted to know, what were your thoughts about your performance with that fight? Did that fight play out the way you thought it was? And like, from where I sit, I mean, that's another win over a high quality opponent. So, like I said, that was a fight. As soon as I heard it got announced, I was enjoying it, and you had quite the performance in that one.
Yeah, I felt like my striking really showed off in that one. I feel like things we've been working for the last 8 fight camps finally paid off. And that's usually, we always say it takes like a year for things that we learned a year ago to seem to actually have impact, which, it's just from muscle memory and your body finally getting used to that. But I felt really good in that fight. Honestly, expected it to be a harder fight. Ended up not really going to the ground much at all. It was a lot of just stand up, and people were like, oh, Miranda's going to get destroyed on the feet. And I thought it was funny. Like, I wasn't trying to do the whole, oh, I'm going to beat her where she's good at. I was just the first
Taking
round.
The fight where it went.
Yeah, the first round, I just felt like, wow, I'm faster than her. I'm doing better in the striking. Why not just keep it here, play it safe, and then go for a takedown at the end of each round and try to finish it?
I mean, I won some money off that fight, so thank you.
That's always a plus. That's always a plus for us.
Hey, look,
you always bet on the show guest, bro. I love that.
I was about to say, I show love to anyone that's taking the time to do our show. And speaking of which, shout out to past guest of the show, Josh Fremd, who will be doing his thing this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing him step in there as well. But yeah, I mean, like I said, that was a great fight for you. I think obviously with this one being short notice, and like we talked about with Dione being newer to the UFC, you go in there and you have a big fight. Is the Tracy matchup something that you would want like after this fight if she does well, or is there anybody else that any other names that you'd like to look at so that you can help yourself start moving up that rank?
I'd honestly like just about anyone other than Tracy. I think she's the flakiest fighter in the top 15. Listen, I've said it since she didn't end up dropping out. So honestly, I'm impressed. But I was just I was like, this fight won't happen. Like, we gave it an 80% chance that the fight wouldn't happen. Because if you look at her last fight record, she hasn't fought more than once a year since 2017.
They've been talking about that a lot.
17, something crazy. And on top of that, she's always like, oh, I just didn't feel it. Or she was too emotional. Like, not even I got hurt. Like, the most ridiculous. All right, if you're not going to take it serious, like, what the hell? And you're going to fight once every 2 years and be like, oh, I'm the best, yet you've never fought any ranked opponents? No.
I like it. Tell them what time it is.
I'd love to have the Macy rematch. Probably will never happen. I've already been told that 1,000 times. But honestly, anyone in the top 15, I'm ready to show up and show down.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate you giving us the time. I was thinking of you the other day because J-Bone and I were talking while we were watching the NXT pay-per-view the other night, because we had Valerie Loretta from Bellator, who's made her way over to NXT. She had quite the match the other night with Roxanne Perez for the title. I tell you, after talking to you and you telling me about your foray into pro wrestling and stuff like that, it made me think. Didn't I tell you this when we were watching the show? I was like, Miranda would have done great in these NXT underground things, because they basically, it's like. So Josh Barnett, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but Josh Barnett's got his own thing. He calls it Bloodsport. It kind of looks like the Kumite thing, but there's a lot of MMA fighters that have come over and competed in there. Shayna Baszler just did a little bit ago. You've had a whole bunch of them. And it just, like I said, I thought of that, and I'm like, dude, it's too bad they weren't doing these like when you were training for that stuff, because I feel like you would have been perfect for that shit.
Oh, for sure.
Back into it at some point, but like I said, just the crowd I didn't like, and the people I was having to train with weren't the best people. It was like, I should feel uncomfortable every time I walk in here,
Hey man, it ain't for everybody, but like I said, I thought about that when we were watching that. I was like, dude, Miranda would have been perfect in this. Well, we appreciate you giving us time to come rock through here, but before I let you get out of here, we mentioned UFC 304, which they've moved that stuff around. That's going to be the one that's in England with Leon Edwards going to war there. Who do you got in that fight? How do you see that fight going?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, and you're going to be disappointed in me as a fighter.
Yeah.
The other cards when I'm about to fight. I don't even know who Leon's fighting.
That's all right.
I got. Yeah, dude.
I don't feel like that's out of the
That's
ordinary.
not bad at all. That just means you're focused on yours. It's let me see what I got up in here.
Laser focused.
I just had it right.
I pay attention, but when I'm in camp, especially within like a month or so of my fight, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not gonna watch them. I don't even know who my main event in my card is usually. So I'm just like, I don't.
Laser focus. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
There's not a thing wrong with that at all. Like I said, I just I always like to get everybody's thoughts on those because, like I said, I've learned through doing this show, man. As much as people say otherwise, oh, that's what it is. Why couldn't I spit his name out? Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad.
Oh, I think Leon Edwards is gonna take it. Yeah, I did see that one. I guess I forgot about it.
Man, I tell you, know, I like Leon Edwards. Don't get it twisted. Like, I mean, he's had that win streak and the things that he was able to do, like that knockout and all that stuff. But man, the thing that's hard for me with that fight is it's just like I feel like people sleep on Bilal so hard, and I feel like
people are rough on him. I don't even know why so much, and I don't hate him or anything. I just think that Leon's a little bit more skilled. But I think Bilal's a hard fighter. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be like a finish way or anything. And Bilal's
Go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, you're good. He's more hungry for it. I think Bilal's been shit on so much that he's like, I'm going to go in there.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I think and watching the lead up to this fight, I could totally be wrong. But being a fighter myself and listening to the things I hear Leon say, I think Leon knows that this is going to be a much tougher fight than he expected it to be. Because in the lead up to the fight, I've heard him say it in multiple interviews at this point. He said things along the like of like, oh, Bilal needs to earn it just like I did. I'm like, bro, he's on like a how many fight fucking win streak and beat everybody. Like, what more possibly could he do?
Crazy. But yeah, I feel like he's the new Aljamain Sterling, like with the way
everybody shits on him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's not
Aljo didn't do himself any favors when he went to 145 either, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. He called out Diego Lopez for that next fight. I don't know how I see that one going because Lopez is a dog. Yes. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Before we get you out of here, do you got a prediction for how your fight with Dione ends?
Man, I'm shooting for a first round submission.
Ooh, I like it. So that's the thing. So are you? That's a good last question to ask for you as far as submissions and things go. I've seen your work. I've seen a lot of stuff you've been doing with jiu-jitsu and all those things. When you're in there fighting versus like just straight jiu-jitsu, are you somebody that's got like favorite submissions, or do you just go with the flow with whatever they give you? Or do you have stuff that you're looking for? I'm not talking about giving game plans or anything, but I hear different things all the time. You got some guys that are straight guillotines, some guys like just arm bars.
I don't have straight anything, but in MMA, I definitely prefer taking the back or doing an armbar from the back just because like you're on top no matter what, where guillotines can slip. Guillotines are more a defensive submission, and I don't try to be defensive in my fights. So that's where that is. And as far as arm bars, like I used to go for those all the time. Like if you look at my earlier career, like more than half of my finishes have been via arm bar in my career. And it's like, I love that. But now I'm to the point where it's like, that's dangerous. Like if they get on top, you're going to get beat up potentially if it's not in the last like 30 seconds of the round. Right. But yeah, I'd prefer to take the back, do ground and pound to open up another submission, which that's the thing. Like the striking can open up so many things that it's hard to answer that.
That's why, like I said, I just wonder because, like I say, you hear such a different thing. And now that I've been foraying into commentary and stuff like that and having to do like the pre-fight interviews, I wondered what you would say to that one. Well, like I said, we've kept you for long enough, but for all our Michigan fight fans out here, make sure you check out our homies over at Mitten Muay Thai. Make sure you check out the fight August 9th. They're giving me a microphone to call this shit, so it's going to be a good time. So if you're in the Michigan area, make sure you check that out. August 9th, Masonic Temple, Detroit, Michigan is going to be a good time. And make sure you check out Miranda Maverick, UFC Fight Night. Hopefully picking up another dub against Dione Barbosa. Until next time, and in the in-between time, hit that button. Peace.
Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate it.